Sorry, my oldest daughter has cottoned on to the fact that mummy is something, because she will like be in the market and she'll be like, Lily Allen.
If you'd asked me 10 years ago who Lily Allen was, I'd have told you she was the ladette darling of the music press. Someone who got wasted at parties, sung over reggae samples and rhymed Tesco with alfresco. But since 2009, she's only released one album. Her main outlet has been her extremely active Twitter account, through which she's become one of the left's most outspoken figures. Her detractors say that she's all front, that you can't believe in political upheaval if you live in a nice house in West London and sing about Chiltern Firehouse. So we met up with Lily to find out why she'd want to be a pop star in a world she finds so troubling.
People always say to me, like, you know, God, you just overshare too much on Twitter. It's just like, but wait a second, I'm just spending time on my phone exactly like you are, but you're willing to spend 3 hours in the mirror getting the right selfie for Instagram.
Right.
And I don't find that interesting.
Right.
So I would rather spend 3 hours arguing with racists.
We all have to pass
We all
the time.
need to get our fix on.
But I guess what's different about you is that you do it in public, whereas other people might do that in their WhatsApp thread or whatever.
Yeah, I think I sometimes forget that I'm like well known.
Right. I mean, I've definitely like seen you about to tweet something, being like, "Don't do that. It's going to get you in so much trouble or whatever." Whatever that bit of my brain that is like very anxious, you don't seem to be concerned.
Well, because I think that anxiety is like designed. Most people that are online, that are in a job similar to mine or that are in the public eye, are not contributing thoughts, they're contributing pictures. It comes across as being narcissistic, but really it's just about engagement, and because they can't say anything, they're forced to say nothing. They've got to say something, but the something can't really be a thing.
Right.
We're all like concentrating on our numbers on Instagram, how many likes we've got. But in order to succeed in that area, you can't contribute into the stuff that matters because it's not cool. The space in which to talk or to converse is being taken up with really loud, aggressive people that don't care about the vanity and the way that they look and how they're being perceived as an individual. They care about their voice being louder and effective. Right. And so I think that's essentially what's happened. I am interested in like the world, this country, people, equality. That's reflected in my music and my online persona because that's how I feel.
Yeah. Can you see anything?
I can see things, but I just don't. I don't really want to turn this on too much because it's gonna. Maybe it's easier if I open one of the back windows. Santan Dave's like, you know, the only person I'm on the run from is the tax man, and you're like,
right.
No, but you just talked about how you love public services on your last.
I feel that sometimes a lot with like some of the most vocal, like myself included, like I'll be like whatever, wanging on about Corbyn 1 minute and then like going to Westfield the next or whatever. Like everyone kind of is a bit like that.
Yeah, everyone like, you know, rolls their eyes at their tax bill and wishes that it wasn't quite so high. Yeah. But there's another thing saying I'm on the run from the tax man. That's
yeah. On the flip side of all that, like obviously, like you say, with Me Too, like actually celebrities being outspoken about something that has enacted like a big amount of change, or
has it? Well, who's been arrested? Who's gone to jail?
Do you think that that's what counts?
If Harvey Weinstein had been accused of murdering 52 people, he would be in jail by now. He's not. Either we have to be honest about what we deem as being acceptable on a human level and we need to start punishing it as such, or we just need to stop.
So do you feel like because there isn't state-level support for victims of those kinds of things, it changes how you see them as crimes or not crimes?
When people started talking about the Me Too stuff, what I saw was a lot of men going, not me, I don't behave like that. When a lot of men that I do know do behave like that. I've pulled them up on it. Nobody's like done anything. Do you know what I mean? They haven't changed their behaviour. None of my peers have like picked them up on it either. Like, it just doesn't really seem to be that serious.
Right.
Nobody's changing. Everyone's going, this has happened to me, this is really awful. What's happening as a result?
Yeah.
Like, there's some public shaming going on. Oh my God, no, you've been outed on Twitter. Like, that doesn't change what's happened. To be honest, I felt it like when I had kids.
Right.
I really realised that the record company, they couldn't articulate it, but what they were saying was, we just don't know how to sell sex now that you're very publicly a mother.
Right.
And you're a woman, so we don't really know how else to sell you. Those boobs are for feeding children, not selling records. Do I feel hopeful that things are going to change? No, I don't. I don't think that it's like on Trump's agenda or whoever's going to take over from Theresa May's agenda. I just don't think it's a priority. Do you? Where are we going, by the way?
So take a left.
Left at the roundabout.
No, I think it's just here, isn't it?
Oh, that's the Elgin, not the Albert. Okay. Sorry. This is where they recorded the Grenfell charity single.
Is it?
Up here on the right, yeah.
Do you think that charity's making Grenfell seem like a comic relief, like, you know, give your money rather than a thing that's about...
It should never have been that. It should have been the council. This borough has got the biggest reserves in the country. The idea that they couldn't sort that out on their own is quite honestly ridiculous. I'm really I'm brain fogged where Grenfell's concerned. The damage that it's done to the community and to people here, and people who've got mental health issues related to it, it's just so astonishingly sad and avoidable.
So you're putting this album out now?
I am.
In a music world that seems like such a foreign land from when you started. I don't know, how do you see that change?
It's a completely different thing. When I signed my deal, I signed a deal for an album. I don't really know what album deals are about nowadays. I don't know why they still exist. No one really...
Why are you putting out an album then?
Because I'm contracted to. If I could just bash out one song after another and chuck it up on SoundCloud, then I would.
Right.
I would much prefer that. And I honestly, that's probably is the change in the market that you're talking about. I think that's the way in which people consume music, but actually the business side of it hasn't quite caught up yet.
Right.
And I think that it will.
So Giggs is on the album?
So Giggs is on the album. Yeah, he's great. We were in a couple of sessions together, and the producer that we were working with wasn't actually very good, but I was sort of internalizing that and making it about me not being very good, and he was good at being you are very good.
Why? What would he say?
You deserve better beats. He stood up for me on a couple of occasions, with somebody in particular that had not been being very nice to me, which was nice. I was not, after my stalker thing, and got divorced in the past couple of years, my confidence hasn't been at its best, and he's just been a really nice person to have around because he's helped boost that.
Do you think that because this is a very personal album and it feels like you've put a lot into it, does that in this little gap between you just knowing that and putting it out there, does that freak you out?
I mean, that's what it's there for, is for people to listen to and to make their own judgments. That's cool. There are going to be people that like it and people that don't like it. But what I'm really into in terms of me and what I'm doing on a day-to-day, being in the studio, working with people that I really enjoy working with, having, pleasurable working relationships, and being at the school gates to pick my kids up.
What happens at the school gates when you pick your kids up? I
put my hood up and I just get in there as quickly as possible and out as quickly as possible.
Other mums this is the she-beast. If you're a Telegraph reader or whatever, you are the worst person alive.
Yeah. But I mean, my kids go to state school in West London, so I don't have to deal with Telegraph reading parents. But there's still PTAs and group email. I do not feel like a grown up at the school gates. I'm just I'm fully one of the kids.
We were talking a bit about Grenfell in the car, and almost straight after it happened, you got a bit involved. But what were you doing?
Well, not a lot really. I mean, I was there on the night that it happened. I did, bits of volunteering in the days afterwards, and did like some slightly more serious volunteering for the Red Cross for, a month or so afterwards. I've just been like a sort of active member of my community and talked about things that I've experienced.
Why do you think it's taken so long, for example, to rehouse people?
Because they don't care and they think that the problem will go away. Because if they can be really horrible to human beings and not do the right thing, and we as people in the community do nothing in response, then they can pretty much get away with anything, which they are doing. It's working.
What do you think that the distractions for people are from issues like that, from issues like, around politics, around the economy, around like kind of huge injustices? Why aren't people more focused on that?
So I think that everyone's living in this false sense of security that someone somewhere's got to care and they're going to sort it out.
Right.
Those people aren't there. They don't care. They're too busy like siphoning their money off into the Bahamas or wherever to care about you or me or anyone else.
There's been like quite a lot of debate over like whether that is happening, like whether young people are more interested in politics, whether there was like a youthquake or whether there wasn't, whether people like cared about the election or whether they didn't. You were like active during that period. You were looking at it a lot. Did you get the sense that like people who previously hadn't been interested in politics were interested in politics?
Yeah, I do. I think people were interested. I was watching like quite a lot of young people, youth engagement after the vote, and the amount of people that were like, oh, he's lost. What a waste of time. I'm not interested anymore.
It was sort of like football. It was
it's like a spectator sport. It's like Team A and Team B. If your team doesn't win, then it's just like, oh, can't be bothered anymore.
Do you have Black Mirror fears all the time?
Yeah.
What's most concerning?
Like the rise of populism, fascism.
But do you think that's technology based?
I think that technology has been used to advance that stuff. I think it has always existed, but I think that it's been given a platform and been helped along. You've
had some real life experience of like going to Calais, like meeting people, being involved with Grenfell survivors. Like, does that have some kind of impact on you that you can't just get from the internet?
After my like stalking thing a couple of years ago, I really haven't really left home that much. I've been in the studio or I've been at home. I don't really do much socializing. So when I talk about what's going on out there in the real world, I don't really spend much time out there in the real world. I didn't wake up one day and be like, I really want to like solve the refugee crisis. I'm going to go to Calais and see what's going on. A friend of mine who works for a charity called Help Refugees called me up and said, I've got this charity I could really do with your help. Can you come to Calais? And so I went to Calais. As a result of being there and then seeing the hatred and the bile that comes back from really just doing something nice, that's interesting to me. Because that's, aside from the experience in Calais, I'm also experiencing like this really quite insane stuff in terms of engagement. And I'm interested in that. I'm interested in where that comes from.
I just wondered whether there was ever a part of you that was like, do you know what, I'm not sure about being a pop star like that.
I really love making music and I really love singing and I really love performing. The other stuff I'm not so into anymore.
Right. Did you have to go through the process of like...
Yeah, for sure. And the other stuff I really, really wanted it.
What do we mean, but like...
Like the glamour and the red carpets and the booze and the free stuff. And I was like playing a game of like trying to conform, trying to fit into what was happening in pop culture at the time. And I think that like in the trying, something in me died. I think because a lot of it is pretty vacuous and shallow, and that's fine when you're in your early 20s. When you're on the other side of the world from your children, it sort of starts to feel a bit like I'd quite like to be with my kids, not like trying to get a selfie with Kanye West at the Met Ball. Like all I really know how to do is like be honest. So it's just about trying to find the honesty in it all.